The sound cracked through the busy parking garage like a gunshot. Catherine Reynolds's face snapped to the side, a sharp, stinging pain blossoming across her cheek. A strange, rough hand had just slapped the nation's most famous single mom and billionaire CEO in front of cameras, her own guards, and a sea of polished luxury cars at the New York City Convention Center. For one silent, suspended heartbeat, time froze. Then, a second crack. A bullet tore through the glossy black door of the Escalade where she had been standing only a second ago. The safety glass exploded into a shower of bright, flying stars. People screamed. Security men in dark suits instinctively ducked. Someone yelled, "Down! Down!" Another shot sang past her ear and chewed a chunk out of the concrete wall behind her. The same man who had slapped her, a black man in a tattered brown coat, with messy, matted hair and an overgrown beard, yanked her by the wrist and dragged her behind a thick concrete pillar. Catherine stumbled in her designer heels, her heart pounding so violently it felt like her chest would burst. "Stay low," the man whispered. His breath carried a hint of city dust and recent rain. Two things hit Catherine at once. The searing sting in her cheek, and the undeniable truth that this complete stranger had just saved her life. A third shot rang out, farther away now. Shouts scattered across the concrete expanse. Doors slammed, engines roared to life. Somewhere, a woman cried hysterically. Catherine turned, her eyes wide with shock, and finally saw the man's face. It was tired, lined with hardship, but strangely, unnervingly calm. He wore a dirty old messenger bag across his shoulder, the strap frayed and the fabric worn as thin as paper. "Who are you?" she breathed, the words barely a whisper. "You'll understand," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Please, get back in your car now," he didn't shout. He didn't beg. He just looked at her with steady eyes that seemed to hold a lifetime of secrets. He guided her, keeping her low, toward the driver's side of her SUV. One of her guards, finally regaining his composure, leaped up to provide cover. Another guard scanned the upper levels of the garage, his finger pressed to his earpiece, his lips moving fast and silent. The stranger slid into the passenger seat before anyone could argue. Catherine's fingers trembled as she grabbed the steering wheel. Her driver was nowhere in sight. Her lead guard, Donovan, banged his fist on the hood twice. The signal. Go. Catherine hit the push-start button. The engine woke with a smooth, deep growl. She shot a quick, disbelieving glance at the man beside her. He was clipping his seatbelt, his movements deliberate and calm. Catherine's heart thumped a frantic rhythm in her ears as the SUV glided out of the parking space and into the service lane. A fourth shot cracked behind them, much farther away this time, and then the wild, rising chorus of sirens began to fill the air. "Ma'am," the man said quietly, "avoid the main exit." Catherine turned left without a second thought. They slipped into a narrow exit ramp lined with pipes and low concrete barriers. A maintenance truck blocked part of the lane. She swerved around it, feeling the tires grip the pavement. The city's noise rolled in to meet them, honking horns, the rush of traffic, the giant digital billboard smiling down with her own face on it. Catherine Reynolds, keynote speaker. She swallowed hard. That smiling woman on the billboard looked fearless, in control. The woman in this driver's seat did not feel fearless at all. They merged into the midtown traffic. The convention center fell away behind them. Only then did Catherine find her voice again. "Start talking," she said, trying to inject a strength into her tone that she didn't feel, even as her hands shook on the wheel. "Who are you? What just happened back there?" The man lifted his eyes to the rearview mirror, checking behind them, then slowly turned to face her. "My name is Marcus," he said. "I'm sorry about the slap." Catherine let out a short, shaky laugh that was half a sob. "You slapped me, a stranger, in public." "I did," he said, his voice even. "Because the bullet was already coming." The words hit her harder than his hand had. She felt the sting on her cheek again, but now it felt different, like a mark of mercy. How did you know? Marcus looked out the window at the passing yellow cabs, the street vendors pushing carts of hot dogs and pretzels, the delivery cyclists weaving through impossible spaces. His jaw worked as if he were chewing on a memory that hurt to swallow. I heard them last night, he said. Two men, under the overpass near the Williamsburg Bridge. They spoke about a clean opening, about the parking garage, about the timing. One of them said the target would stand by the back door of a black Escalade before walking to the side entrance. That's what you did. Catherine's skin prickled with a cold dread. You expect me to believe you just happened to overhear a plan to assassinate me? I didn't just overhear, Marcus said, his gaze intense. I listened. They kept saying, if she steps out and looks right, take the first shot. If she hesitates, take the second. I didn't sleep. I stayed where I could see the center. I prayed you would hear me if I called out. When I saw you step out, I shouted, go back. You didn't hear me. The rifle lifted on the roof across the street. I had no time to think. So I slapped you. To make your head turn and your body move. That's all I had. Silence filled the armored interior of the SUV, heavy and suffocating. Catherine blinked away hot tears. She had built corporate empires, created thousands of jobs, raised her son Noah alone, and faced down boardrooms full of powerful men who didn't think she belonged. But she had never, ever been this close to losing it all in a single, violent instant. Thank you, she said, her voice small and raw. Marcus, thank you. He nodded once, as if thanks were too large a concept for the cramped space. They reached an intersection. A traffic light flashed red. Catherine pressed the brake. Cars bunched up around them. A vendor lifted a cooler of cold water bottles toward the window. Catherine waved him off with a soft shake of her head. Why were they after me, she asked. Marcus kept watching the mirrors. I don't know names, but one of them said something about, the announcement said once the stage was set and the stock dropped before quarter end. No CEO, no keynote. The board would panic and kill the Viridian Initiative, he paused. They also said she walks like she owns the ground she stands on. Catherine almost smiled. That sounds like me. It is you, Marcus said. The light turned green. She pulled forward. You need to call the police, Marcus added. Tell them exactly where the shots came from. I will, she said. We'll go straight there, but she didn't turn toward the closest precinct just yet. She needed a moment to breathe, to feel the frantic beating in her chest slow enough to let her think. She needed to know more about the stranger who had just pushed her out of death's path. Marcus, she said, tell me about you. He didn't answer at first. He kept his eyes moving. Left mirror, road ahead, right mirror. Like a man who had learned to survive by looking around corners. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet and steady. I wasn't always like this, he said, touching the dirty, frayed sleeve of his coat. I was a financial analyst on Wall Street. Numbers were my friends. I did well, maybe too well. Some people didn't like it. They said I made them look slow. Catherine listened, her hand steadying on the wheel as the story unfolded. One day, an offshore account moved money it shouldn't have, Marcus continued. Someone used my login credentials. By the time I found out, the funds were gone. They said I planned it. My own partner signed the affidavit against me. I was fired. Then I was arrested. I kept saying, check the servers, check the access times. No one listened. I spent months in jail. When the case collapsed because the real thief had covered his tracks perfectly, they let me go. But I had nothing left. No job, no apartment, no reputation. No one wanted to hire a man with that stain. So I took this bag and tried to disappear. His fingers touched the frayed strap of his messenger bag again. A small, sad smile tugged at his mouth. But I couldn't disappear today. Catherine's throat tightened. The city rolled by, billboards, bustling crowds, the bright blur of taxis. She thought of her son, Noah, waiting for her at home with his nanny, probably wanting to show her a new Lego creation. She thought of the speech she was supposed to give, about courage and building trust in hard times. Maybe today was the real speech. "Marcus," she said, her voice firm. "You are not invisible. Not to me." He nodded, but his eyes flicked to the mirror again, sharp and alert. "They might follow," he said. "Who? The same men? Or new ones?" Catherine checked her own mirror then, and her stomach plummeted. Two powerful-looking motorcycles had entered the lane behind them. Both riders wore black helmets with dark, obscuring visors. They didn't weave through traffic like typical city bikers. They held a straight, disciplined line. They kept the same distance. "Do you see them?" she whispered. "I do," Marcus said. "What do we do?" "Breathe," he said softly. "Keep driving. Don't rush. Don't look scared. We'll turn off before they can box us in." Catherine tried to breathe. In, out. She thought of the slap, the glass bursting, the pillar that had kept her alive. She thought of how close she had come to never seeing her son again. Her phone buzzed. A text from Donovan, her head of security. "Are you safe?" Another message immediately followed. "Do not return. Stay in motion. Police en route." She typed a reply with one hand, her eyes glued to the road. "I am safe. With a witness. Possible tail. Next exit," Marcus said. "Then a hard right. There's an access road with cameras at the transit depot." They took the exit. The bikes glided closer. The access road was narrow and quiet, lined with small industrial shops and a brick wall crowned with barbed wire. A metal gate up ahead stood half open. Catherine eased toward it. One of the bikes suddenly accelerated, its engine roaring. "Don't stop," Marcus said calmly. "Roll through, slow, but don't stop." Catherine's mouth felt like sandpaper. She rolled through the gate. A security guard in a faded blue uniform raised his hand to wave, then noticed the bikes. His eyes widened in alarm. The first bike slipped through the gate behind them, as smooth and silent as a shadow. "Down," Marcus said, his voice still level but now laced with urgency. "Catherine, get ready to duck." Her heart hammered against her ribs, her cheeks still stung. The world narrowed to the lane ahead, the bike in the mirror, the sound of her own ragged breath. Then a new sound cut the air, the sharp wail of a siren turning into the access road from the far end. The biker's helmeted head tilted. The siren grew louder, closer, a blue and red light flashing fast against the gray walls. "Marcus," Catherine whispered, not sure if she was praying or asking a question. He didn't answer. He was looking past her, his eyes fixed on something she couldn't see, something just beyond the bend. Just then, a black van nosed forward from a side gate, blocking half the lane in front of them. The bike behind them revved, closing the distance. Catherine's foot hovered over the brake. "Now," Marcus said, his voice low and fierce. "Whatever you do, don't stop." The black van blocked half the lane ahead. The bikes closed in from behind. Catherine's hands froze on the steering wheel for a split second, then tightened until her knuckles turned white. Her foot hovered over the brake, but Marcus's voice cut through the storm of panic inside her head. "Whatever you do, don't stop." Her chest squeezed. "Marcus. Go, Catherine." His tone was firm now, leaving no room for fear. She slammed her foot on the accelerator. The Escalade roared, its heavy, powerful frame eating up the short stretch of road. The van jerked forward, attempting to seal the road completely. Catherine aimed for the slim, unforgiving gap between its bumper and the brick wall. Metal screamed as the SUV's passenger side scraped along the wall, sending a shower of sparks into the air, but they shot through. Behind them, the first motorcycle clipped the gate post and spun sideways, throwing the rider hard into the dust. The second swerved wildly, then steadied, its engine growling like a cornered predator. "Good," Marcus muttered, his eyes on the side mirror. "Steady but alert. Keep moving." The police siren behind them grew deafeningly close. A police cruiser barreled down the access road, lights flashing. The remaining bike rider glanced back, then swerved to follow Catherine's SUV, a shadow refusing to be shaken off. Catherine's breath came in hard, shallow gasps. She had faced hostile takeovers, grueling court cases, and the profound loneliness of raising her son on her own. But this raw, visceral fight for her life, was different. The sting on her cheek burned again, a constant reminder of how close she had come to death only minutes ago. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They'll keep coming." "Not if we lead them into the open," Marcus said. "The police will catch them. Just trust me." Something in his voice, calm but edged with steel, made her nod without thinking. She veered left at the next junction, tires squealing, and entered a broad avenue where taxis scattered, their drivers shouting curses. The bike rider pushed harder, drawing close to the driver's side. Catherine saw him out of the corner of her eye, black helmet, black jacket. One hand was steady on the handlebar, the other was reaching inside his coat. "Gun!" Marcus barked. Catherine's heart leaped into her throat. Before she could react, Marcus rolled down his window. Without a flicker of hesitation, he hurled his battered messenger bag straight at the biker. It smashed into the rider's chest, a surprisingly solid impact that knocked him off balance. The gun clattered onto the tarmac as the bike wobbled and skidded, sparks flying from the metal grinding against asphalt. The rider tumbled onto the roadside. Gasps erupted from pedestrians. A child screamed. The police siren screamed even closer. Catherine's SUV kept rolling, her breaths ragged. "You threw your bag," she gasped. "You're only." "I can get another bag," Marcus said, his voice flat. "I can't get another chance at life." His words silenced her. They carried a weight deeper and more profound than the chaos they were leaving behind. Finally, as they sped into a safer district, the police car overtook them and screeched to a halt beside the fallen rider. Catherine slowed, shaking, but kept going until the road widened and traffic forced her to merge. She pulled into a gas station, her chest heaving. For the first time since the slap, there was quiet. Just the hum of other engines, the faint honk of distant horns, the hot New York sun pouring down. Catherine leaned her forehead against the steering wheel, her entire body trembling. "I should be dead," she whispered. "I should be dead right now." Marcus sat back in his seat, his empty hands resting on his lap. "But you're not," he said softly. "And that means something." Her eyes welled with tears. She turned to him, seeing not just the mud-stained coat, the disheveled beard, and the weary eyes, but the man who had risked his life for hers without a moment's thought. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why would you risk everything for me? A stranger?" Marcus looked out the window as if the answer was written on the passing faces of commuters and fuel attendants. His jaw tightened. "Because I know what it feels like when no one stands up for you. I couldn't let it happen again. Not to you." Before Catherine could reply, her phone buzzed. It was Donovan, her head of security, again. "We have captured one suspect. Others escaped. Conference cancelled. Where are you?" She wiped her eyes quickly and typed back. "Safe with witness. Going to police." She slid the phone into the console, then looked at Marcus again. "You're not a stranger anymore." For a moment, their eyes held. Then Marcus shifted, clearing his throat. "You need to report this before they twist the story. You're powerful, but your enemies are powerful, too. She nodded. Yes. We're going to the police station. Her SUV rolled back into the traffic. But deep inside, a question burned hotter than the summer sun. Who really wanted her dead badly enough to risk daylight bullets at a major international conference? Her rival's name echoed in her mind, Harrison Thorne, the man who had tried to snatch deals from her before. But was it him, or someone closer? She didn't know yet. What she did know was that the homeless man beside her wasn't just a savior. He was a mystery. And mysteries, she knew, always came with truths that could shatter everything. And Catherine wasn't sure if she was ready for the truth that was waiting around the corner.